A very good morning, and my name is Danny, and this is Invisible Marloes. So, Invisible Marloes, what is your favorite animation movie? The Lion King. I could have guessed it. The Lion King. Yeah, animation is beautiful. Animation is one of the most nice art forms there is. And this block you will also get a taste of what you can do with animation. Well, not in the way that Disney does, because then we would be, well, 4 to 6 years further before your movie is finished. But you will make a short, well, it's called an explanimation. And the explanimation is, a short animation in which you will explain a difficult topic within 40 seconds to a minute of animation. First, let us take a look at how the block will advance. And it looks like this. So today you have this Tools for Dummies live stream. I will explain you some first basic techniques in Illustrator and in After Effects, so you can make a start on your own. And then, from week 2, we start with the workshops, as you're used to. And then in the first workshop, we'll do the beach ball exercise together with you. I will also show you today how you can do that beach ball exercise, so you will have a kind of a tutorial to work with After Effects. And then in week 3, we have the Sustainable Development Goal title Intro and the transition. And that's because we will make animations that are about one of these Sustainable Development Goals. Or an animation for your, but then I must take a look at our director Maurice from IC. Is it also at IC the same thing as in CO, that the students can choose between one of the Sustainable Development Goals or an animation for their client?
Yes, that's correct. So both is possible.
Okay, so that's nice. And then after that week, you will continue working on your animation, and then there's a workshop, of course, about adding music and sound effects, because the music and the sound effects make up a very important part of animation, because without them, it's just not the same thing. And because you don't have real-life sounds, you have to edit everything in. Now, then after that, we have week 6 and 7, and you can get help and feedback.
Yeah, maybe we'll switch it around a little.
Oh, yeah.
Because week 5 is the online week again for our students. So maybe we'll do a help and feedback week in week 5. And then in week 6, we're going to do the music and sound effects workshop.
Oh, that's even great.
We'll notify or over email or via Blackboard the students. So that part, I have to discuss that with Marloes, but I think just as the first year that we switch it around to prevent doing things like that online, which is quite hard.
And then you can be can be home for Christmas
in time.
Yeah, in time. Okay, the next thing we need to take a look at is the student guide, because it will have all the important information about this block, and of course a look at the grading. So let me switch to your student guide, and it looks like this. So in the beginning, of course, there's the explanation of the weeks that you just saw, and then what we do in the workshops. Oh yeah, this is actually nice to have. So we have these cards again, as you know from the first block. So there's a card for making an animation, one for making transitions, because making transitions between the several kinds of scenes is one of the important things that you will learn. And the workshop about adding music and sound effects. We have several websites that we use for that. You can find a lot of a lot of free music and sound effects on YouTube already because it has the YouTube audio library. Maybe you've already heard of that. But there's also, we have a subscription to a website called artlist.io. And you can use a form on the CMI Media Desk website, and then you can first search for your sound effects and music on Artlist, and then you can put them in the list, and then Bonne from the Media Desk will mail them to you, and then you can add them to your animation. And yeah, here you can also see that you will do that by using Premiere Pro. So there's actually three apps that you will use this block. First is Illustrator for all the graphics in your animation, then After Effects for all your animation work, and then after that you make an export and you import your animation in Premiere Pro, and there you add the sound effects and the music. And that has an important reason, because After Effects, well, it can work with music and sound effects, but it isn't a video editing program. It's really only for animation, and it's very difficult to change the volume of the several tracks. There's actually only, well, you can use several audio and video tracks, but it's just not the same as in Premiere Pro. So that's why we also work with that.
Especially the waveform part is missing in After Effects.
Exactly, yeah. You can take a look at the waveform, but
not on the timeline.
You cannot adjust it as easily as in Premiere Pro. So it's not the program to go. Then, an explanation of the final assignment. So as I just explained, you will create an animation, either related to your project campaign or to one of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I think we will make a list for you so you can subscribe to one of the goals. So that way we will have as many different goals explained in every class. And that will make up for a nice collection of Sustainable Development Goals. Most students find this fun to work with, but also very difficult. So it's very important to participate in the lessons, so you will not, well, get behind the others, because in the last couple of years, well, we also had students in even year 4 who still need to make their animation. So that's a little, yeah, thing that you need to know. Just be there and participate in the lessons, and then you will be fine. Some conditional requirements. So you will make an animation that's between 30 and 60 seconds in length. Not shorter, because then you cannot tell the whole story. There's several other conditionals that you can find over here. Take a good look at them, because then you're good to go. And then, in the grading. So there you will see the things that I just explained. And then there's several things that we take a look at. For instance, the pre-production. So what you will make is a script and a storyboard. And the script and the storyboard, it's just essentially a written
script?
Yeah, with a script, a samenvatting.
Summarize.
Yeah, a summary. Yeah, a written summary of the goal that you want to explain. So I will show you in a while the website where you can find that information, because there's actually there's a lot that you don't have to do, because it's already there. And one of the things is the text that you use for your script, but then after that you need to make a storyboard, because every shot that you make in Illustrator will also have a picture, and based on that picture, based on your storyboard, you will create the scene in Illustrator, and then from Illustrator it goes to After Effects. I will show you in a while how that works. Of course, then for the Illustrator techniques, you will also be graded, and that has an important reason, because you need to have a graphic style that is nicely well fitted for your animation. And the thing with the global goals, as you will see in a while, They already have graphics for you available, so you don't have to draw them, and they are in a certain style. But if you think it's not enough and you need to add extra elements, then they need to be in the same graphical style. So if you have a little puppet and it is in white and it doesn't have a stroke around it, and you add another object from a different side or something like that, or you draw something yourself and it does have a stroke, then the two don't fit together because it's not the same graphic style. So that's the things that we take a look at as well. And of course, circles are true circles and those kind of things that you may remember from your first year and from block 1. So shift is your best friend when making true circles. Then the most points go to the animation itself, because that's what it is all about. And you will find some things that we take a look at. So just take a good look at that and keep this next to your animation. And then at the end, you will be perfectly fine if you did that. And you will have until Friday the 20th of January, so that's still some time, to make your animation, but be prepared. Don't, and believe me in this one, really, please believe me, don't postpone this until the end of January. Don't think, okay, I can postpone this until the 19th and then start working on my animation, because then you will end up in the groups of people that still don't have handed in their animation, although they are already in year 4. So that's really, really, you have to believe us this time. Keep up with it, work on it on your own at home, because it will never be enough to just participate in the workshops. No.
And it feels quite far away.
Yeah, it feels quite far away.
Next year, January, but there's 2 weeks of break in between, the Christmas break.
Yeah, and it will be Christmas very soon.
Yeah, so if you want to enjoy Christmas relaxed, then just follow our classes.
And I can know, man, because I'm now doing my final year of my master's study, and we also have to hand in a thing in January. But I am working my ass off because it's so much, and I already know I will be in trouble if I just wait for it and then do it in the Christmas vacation. I just don't want that. So no, I already start working on it now.
Having a planning is quite important in this one, and most students find this block the most difficult one.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also the people that don't attend classes that find it the most difficult one. True. Because once you get the hang of it, it will be. It's just like Illustrator. Once you get the hang of it, it starts getting fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's really fun when you get the hang of it. You will then get into the flow of how After Effects works. Okay, I think we have the. Yeah, this was the guide. Yeah.
Maybe you can show the final version now, what they will make in the end.
Yeah, I think it's actually
demo video.
Here. Yeah, I have it. So about the animation, this is an example of an animation that we made for this. I think it took me and Marloes, so we worked together on this. I think 3 days in total. But then again, we made a lot of extra graphics for that one. And yeah, so if it took us 3 days, then you might probably end up with 5 or 6 days, I think. Especially if you've never done this before. But let's take a look.
The world's oceans drive global systems that make the Earth habitable for humankind. As much as 40% of the ocean is polluted by human activity. The target of goal number 14, to sustainably manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems from pollution by reducing marine pollution, and overfishing and regulate harvesting, and prohibit fishery subsidies. So that in 2030 we have a cleaner ocean and happy, healthy fish on our plate.
Yeah, see, so there's several, oh yeah, okay. This is nice. I can show this in a slower way. So there's several techniques. So in one of the first lessons, we will make this with you. So this is of goal 14. So your goal will look something different, of course. But make the title card, then make a transition into the next scene. So you can see that we wipe everything away except for the fish. And then the next scene comes into place with the island and all the trees and the houses. And yeah, it's just all about, well, making things bigger, smaller, putting them aside, and then just get a nice flow from one scene to the other. And as you might also have seen, well, every sentence that I speak out has its own scene. So this is one sentence, then the next one is one sentence. So that's how you build up your voiceover text. And in the first lesson, you will have time to, I don't know if, oh no,
I think it's the second lesson. First one is the beach ball.
Yeah. The first of the beach ball, and then after that you can work on your voiceover text, a script, maybe record it even in our sound studio.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So working with text, and then moving all the way throughout it until the end. So ours is around 40 seconds. And then you will have explained one of the goals. It's actually really fun to do. So how does that work in the workflow? So first, you write your voiceover, then you record it, and then based on that voiceover, you make a storyboard. And then just as I explained, so every sentence of your written voiceover has to have a scene. And that's how you make your storyboard. And then based on that storyboard, you make your drawings in Illustrator. And then those will be maybe 8 Illustrator files, and every Illustrator file is one shot, one scene in your storyboard based on one sentence of your voiceover. So that's how the build-up works. And then you can import your Illustrator files into After Effects, and in After Effects you will make your animation, which then again will be exported and imported into Premiere Pro, where you add your music and sound effects, and then at the end you'll make an export as an MP4 just in block 1.3 where you worked on your own movie, and that MP4 that you will upload it to video.hans.nl in one of the channels. Okay, let's go to After Effects for a small tutorial on the beach ball, so you can already see how you can do that. And then you can maybe already try before the first lesson to make that ball roll yourself. And then in the lesson you can work further on that, and then you will have a nice pacing already in there. The beach ball. I need an Illustrator file for that. So if you take a look at Blackboard, you will find an
starter kit.
Yeah, a starter kit. That's what it's called. And in the starter kit, there's a file called
Beach ball setup.
Beach
if
ball
I'm not
setup.
wrong, I have to double check that. But I think it's called Beach Ball Setup 1080_dev.
Okay.
Because it was the definite version of it.
Okay. And then you can download it to your computer. That's also very important when working with After Effects. Make a folder, and in that folder you keep all of your Illustrator files together, because you cannot hand in an After Effects file without those source files that you make. So the After Effects project file and the Illustrator files will always need to be together, and only then someone else can see what you've done. And of course you can find it back when working further on your animation. Just like Premiere Pro works with video files. So I have here my beach ball, and now I need to take a look where I saved that. Save as. Yeah, so I have a beach ball, an Illustrator, And then in there, I have my Illustrator file, and I opened it up in Illustrator. And then you can see that this file is made up of a lot of layers. And every layer has its own object. So the plant is on the layer plant, the ball is on the layer beach ball, and so on. And that's important because every object that you want to animate needs to be on its own layer. Because if you don't have that, then it will just be a picture and you cannot select anything, and then the whole picture will move. That's what we need to prevent. So you need to have everything on a separate layer.
So each thing you want to animate must be on a separate layer.
Yes. Now we can import this file. So this has a resolution, so a document setup, how do they call it? An artboard, yeah. It has an artboard of 1920 by 1080 pixels, so 1920 wide and 1080 high. That's because that's the standard full HD resolution in which you need to work. And then this we can import in After Effects. So let's start up After Effects. And you will see a screen like this, and we can start a new project. There we go. And we can save this project in the same folder as we have our beach ball. But I think it is in last year's. Yeah. So let's save it in this one and call it beach ball exercise. Save it. And now this works kind of this, well, yeah, it's not exactly as Premiere Pro, but it is a little bit like Premiere Pro. So on the left we have our project. So in Premiere Pro these would be your video files. So we can double click in here and then select our Illustrator file. And now it's important because you need to change this important as footage into composition retain layer sizes. Because if you choose footage, or if you choose footage, it will just make one layer of it and you cannot animate anything. If you choose composition, it will make a composition as we need, but then all the layers will be centered. So you will have to figure out where things were standing. You don't want that. So you can choose retain layers, must choose a retain layer sizes. So everything will stay as it was, as you've drawn in Illustrator. Now you can say open, and you can see that it will appear over here. The first thing is a composition. That's, well, you could compare it to a video clip. And then you will also see a folder, and the folder contains every layer. You don't have to do anything with this. The composition will use this folder to fill it up with the layers. And these are just all the layers that you also see in your Illustrator file.
Just don't delete it. That's
No.
the only thing what you don't have to do with it.
Yeah, don't delete it, leave it as is. So here you see the parasol, the grass, the clouds. See, you can see them over here. What you need to do is open up this composition by double clicking on it, and then you will see that a timeline appears over here. And this looks very much the same as in Premiere Pro. So we have a timeline indicator, and you can scroll through your time with it. Of course, nothing happens because we didn't animate anything yet. And here are all the layers again. Now, the first thing you need to do is select all the layers. So click on one of them and press Command A or Control A on Windows. And then you have selected everything. And then click on this little star on one of them, and it will select everything. Why is that important? Well, if you don't have selected it, and you need to zoom in on an object in one of your animations. So let's try the beach ball first. You can open up this arrow on the left, and you will see the transform options, and you will see the things that you can do with the ball. Well, for instance, let's say we need to have a bigger ball. We can scale it up. You select scale, and you can change these values. The left value is for the x-axis, and the y value is for the y-axis. So horizontal and vertical. But they are now locked together, so constraint proportions is on, so it will just scale up nicely as it is. If I would disable this, then you can see that you can either make it longer like that or stretch it like that. So you will have the control over that. If anything goes wrong, just press Command Z or Control Z, and it's back as it was. So let's turn this on again and make the beach ball bigger. And you can already see what happens, right? The graphical quality will degrade. So the parasol is still nicely and sharp, but the ball is all pixelated. And that's where this function comes in, because we want this to behave like it does in Illustrator. So it needs to draw the vector graphics again. And if we turn this on, you can see that it will stay perfectly sharp. So that's why it is important to, I don't even know how it's, continuously rasterize that it's called, but it's a little star icon. So that's the reason. So let's put this back the way it was. Select our layers again by pressing Control or Command A, and then press the star. And now all your graphics will stay nicely sharp. Okay. Well, on the right side, there's some options for your character. So you can also make a new layer, like a text layer, new text. And then you can type in text. Nice beach day, nice day on the beach. And you can animate that. So there's several options for it. You can even, well, maybe it goes a bit too far to show it right now, but there's some effect like a typewriter, for instance. And you can just drag it onto your text, and then you can see that it will animate as a typewriter. So those are effects that are in there. You should just Google and then type in After Effects effects or After Effects typewriter effects, or if you see anything over here, just Google it or just go to YouTube, because YouTube is full of tutorials about all these functions. And it's really nice to learn new things. That's also the way we do it.
I think we only use 1% of the program.
Yeah, there's so many functions,
Yeah.
and it's such a nice program.
I think it would take us 2 years to teach everything about After Effects.
Of course, I could do that. Well, most of my work besides teaching over here exists of making animations and graphics in motion graphics in After Effects. So I work at a local TV station for which I do the motion graphics. So when you turn on the TV and you search for the channel, then the motion graphics will appear if they.
This is OogTV, right?
Yeah, the OogTV, iTV.
Yeah, but I think if you have just a Dutch subscription for television, you can search for OogTV.
Yeah, of course.
They can watch it. Then you can see what Danny does.
and it's also. Well, if you just go to the OogTV website, they have a live TV, so they also stream it.
Yeah.
And then around the clock of 6, well, 5:30, then they always start. And then there's news about the city of Groningen and those kind of things.
Don't watch it right now because you have to watch this.
Okay. Yeah, let's go back to our ball, because the beach ball needs to be animated. What we want to do is make it roll from the left side of the screen to the right side. And if you just do this now, then nothing happens, because we don't have any, as they are called, keyframes. And the keyframes, that is how After Effects works. And that is also the most, well, the most difficult thing. It's actually a quite nice and easy system, but if you never worked with it before, then it can be quite difficult to get the hang of it. And you need to practice with it a lot, so you get into the flow of how the keyframes work. But the basic thing is, so we have an object, we have a timeline, and we have these options. So let's open up the transform again with the arrow, and let's go to position. So just a while ago we used scale, but now we're going to work with position. And the thing is, on the left side of each what's the English word for that?
Yeah, each property, I guess.
Yeah, property is it, right? Yeah. On the left side of each property, you see this stopwatch, and that's the stopwatch makes a keyframe.
Yeah, it basically tells After Effects that you want to animate that specific value. Is probably a better word.
Yeah, it's a value.
Yeah.
So we can tell After Effects that at 0 seconds on the timeline, so let's start from all the way from 0, the value, so the place where the ball is now, we can pin that on the timeline with a click on the stopwatch. And you will see that a little square turned 45 degrees will appear over here. And that's our first keyframe. And what we can do now is use the time indicator and go a bit further on the timeline, and then move our beach ball too. And now we must just say to After Effects, okay, well, how much time would you need to, how much time do we need to move the ball from left to right side on the screen? So let's zoom in a little bit on the timeline. You can use the scroller over here to do that, or you can pinch with your fingers if you have a MacBook, and then you see more
otherwise, I
of
think
the
it's
seconds.
Control Plus
Oh, Control Plus.
or Command Plus on.
Oh no, that's
that's
okay. That
zooming
zooms
in on
but
that.
maybe
Okay.
it's Control Plus then. No option.
Just
No.
Plus maybe for
Oh no, maybe it's
Windows is probably Control.
yeah, it's plus
Yeah.
and minus. Yeah.
And then for Windows you have to also press Control and then plus and minus.
Ah,
That's
okay.
a bit confusing, but
That's good to know. Yeah, okay, so let's start at 0 seconds, and then, okay, well, yeah, how much seconds would the ball need to go from here over there? Well, first let's try it on 3 seconds. Might be a bit long, but we can try. Just click on your ball, or use position, and then click and drag. Click and drag, and then you will see that the ball moves that way. But you can also pick it up and then lay it over here. You can see that its shadow is left behind. So
it's faster than its shadow.
so yeah, it's faster than the shadow. So let's turn off the shadow for a while. And now you can see that After Effects automatically places its next keyframe on the timeline. So you don't have to click again when you need to have a new keyframe. Once this is active, it will always make new keyframes. So but that's also the tricky thing, because if we want to change something on this position, you have to make sure that you're working on the right keyframe. Because what happens if you are just one frame next to it, and sometimes it's difficult to see, especially if you're zoomed out. See, so it looks like you've now selected this keyframe, but you're actually one frame off. And what then happens if you chose to put the ball over here and you play your animation, you can see that it flips because it only took him one frame, and you cannot even see it. So zoom in all the way and make sure you have the right frame selected, and that's this one. And then you can delete, you can just select and delete a keyframe if you made a mistake. And then you can give it a different place in the scene, maybe a bit behind the parasol. Now we can go all the way back, and you can already see that if you scroll through time, the ball is actually animated again already. And if you press your spacebar, then it will play the animation. well, it takes some time to render this out because you can see this green line over here. It might be that your computer needs a bit more time than this one, but then just be patient, and once it will fill up with green, then you can play that part. Well, this is actually quite nice, but the ball just drags through the sand now, and we want it to roll. So what do we then need? We can also use rotation. So we can add a second
value adjustment.
Yeah, sorry for my English. So we can add a second value. So rotation. Let's start by clicking again on the stopwatch. So it will place a new keyframe over here. And then go to the end, exactly on that same keyframe as the final keyframe for the beach ball. And then add a value over here. So you can do it in degrees, but you can also do it in turns. So if you press, if you fill in 1, so you can just click on the value and then fill in a number. If you press 1, then it's 1 times 360 degrees, and so on. I think it might, well, we can try a 3 to start with, and then let's see what happens if this matches the speed of its movement. Well, this is quite nice. Maybe it turns a little bit too fast for its movement from left to right, so let's change that to, well, 2. Maybe that's a bit too slow, but let's take a look. Oh no, that's actually nice. There. So now you have your first beach ball movement.
And also your first animation.
And your first animation. Congratulations. Well, the ball, we can fine-tune this movement because, of course, it starts to move and then it comes to a stop, like it hits a brick wall. And we don't want that. We want it to be a bit, well,
a bit more subtle.
Yeah, a bit more subtle. So it needs to slow down before it comes to a start. Well, there's a little trick for that. We can change the keyframe
interpretation.
Yeah, interpretation. Here in the menu, it's called Keyframe Assistant. So you can right-click on it, or with 2 fingers, and then you can go to the Keyframe Assistant, and you can choose Easy Ease. So let's try that for its position. And let's also try the Easy Ease for the rotation. So it comes to a stop in a slower way. Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. And then you can already see that if we play this again, see, it will slow down a bit before it comes to a stop. So that's nicer to have. Now, an advanced option of this, it goes a bit too far to explain it into detail, but it's anyway nice to have if you watch this back. What you can do is you can select a keyframe and then open up the graph editor. And it will look like this. And what you see over here is that you can edit the values of, well, the way it comes to a stop. Now, last time I was looking for the option to edit this.
Yeah, maybe first select that. Maybe first select that keyframe.
Yeah, I did select the keyframe. Okay, that's sad because in our first tutorial it showed it in the right way. So let's go back to this and then search for my keyframe. Change it to Easy Ease.
Yeah, the arms are gone.
Yeah, I expected here to be the
and
little...
if you now click on it?
No, it doesn't.
I meant click on the keyframe over there. nothing happens? No, nothing
No,
happens.
nothing happens. Okay, we'll have to sort this out because what we need to see and what did happen in the first in the Dutch tutorial is that you would have these little handles on the left and the right side, like we have over here. See, that handle also appears on the timeline, and then around this thing. And then what you can do is you can adjust the way it comes to a stop. And then you have more control over how long you want it to do to brake before it comes to a stop. So that's a nice option. We'll take a look into that, and then we can come back to it in one of the lessons.
This is not mandatory, by the way.
No, this is not mandatory.
The manual adjusting of the keyframe assistance is just a bonus, basically.
It's just a bonus. It's nice to have.
Yeah.
So don't worry if it doesn't work. This is already nice if you manage to do this. And then, of course, there's other things to animate. You can move the clouds from left to right. So try out for yourself. We can, again, place a keyframe for position. You can also make the opacity higher or lower for your clouds. So if we drag this down, you can see they will get more translucent. You can play around with these settings. Just don't be afraid to do so.
There's always Command or Control Z to help you get back.
Exactly. There we go. And the clouds in the back, we can make them move a bit slower because they are further away. So position again, and then at the end, and then a little bit to the right. Then you will have this effect. It will be a little bit more 3D. So that's nice to do. And maybe this plant, we could make it wave in the wind. So we have a plant. The thing is, we can do this with rotation, but you can already see what happens if I change this value. The plant, it rotates around this point, see? And that's not very realistic, as far as animations are realistic. So let's put this back to 0. And here comes in the anchor point. And this is what is called the anchor point. And the anchor point, that's the point around it will turn. So let's move this. We can move this anchor point around, not by clicking over here, because then you will move the whole plant. But let's move it into the scene a bit. And by changing these values, you can try to make the anchor point appear on a different spot. And I think this, so the base of the plant will need to be the place where it needs to move. So let's move it all the way over there. There. And now if I use rotation, you can see that the plant will move at its base. So this is the way that we want it. Now the only thing we need to do is move the plant back to where it was, and now we can animate the rotation. So let's go back, let's activate and put a keyframe on the timeline, and then maybe, well, around 2 seconds, and just do it a little bit subtle because there's no storm over here, and then it can move back a little bit, and then again, you can also make copies of this, so it will do it a couple of times. Just drag a selection box around the keyframes until you see that they are both selected, because they have a blue border, and then press Command C, or Control C and Command V again, and then it will make copies of the keyframes. And then you can see that it will move in the wind now. And it's a bit staccato. You can see that it bumps and then moves back again. That's also where the Easy Ease comes in. So we can now select all of the keyframes, right-click on it, say Keyframe Assistant, and Easy Ease. And then it will be a more subtle movement. And then you can see it will move that way and a bit back, and it will wave more naturally, see? It's not that harsh. Well, I think this should make up for the tutorial for today. Just try it out for yourself. Don't be afraid to make any mistakes. We can help you out again in the workshops. It's very fun to do, and just try to add in little things that you think are good for movement or for some extra effects. There are so many tutorials on this on YouTube, and of course in the first lesson we will help you out making this well, to finish your animation.
Yeah, you can already download it and start playing with it if you like. You now know what you have to do, and you can even get creative or just do the basics and get creative in class. And when you have questions, you can ask the teacher to maybe help you with a specific part. So you can, I think you mentioned yesterday to make the volcano in the back explode, or like get smoke out of it.
Because now it's just a mountain, but you can make a volcano of it. And it's just really nice because there are a lot of companies who want these animations, so you can make money with it. And some students already do. They're in the 3rd year and they mail me that they are busy with animations for the socials of the company. And they are very happy with it because there are not, well, that many people who can do this, who want to do this. And if you get the hang of it, you can, certainly make money with it. I did. I didn't get very rich of it.
Not yet. It can be. It still can be.
The creative somehow never, the ones doing the work never get rich. Only the bosses. But maybe we can make a change.
Yeah. There's also a 3rd year student now who made a animation last year, and she drew everything by hand. And she now wants to make a portfolio with animations to present herself to get more jobs in animation. So she's busy building a website right now. She mailed me a couple of days ago. So it's nice to see that people get enthusiastic about the After Effects.
Yeah, and it's really much fun. But you only get there when you take the time for doing it. So it's actually the most difficult topic that we have. But once you get the hang of it, the satisfaction that you get from it is very, very, very nice. Okay, let's leave it for this.
Yeah.
Have fun in the workshops. We will see you there, and take time with After Effects. See you next time.
Bye-bye.